Hi, I'm Daphne Goode, enjoying the clean air here at Bamberton near the Malahat Drive. You're watching Go Island, Cowichan Valley. On today's show, we'll explore the history and heritage at Bamberton, once a thriving industrial area, and you'll meet the keeper of some fascinating Bamberton history. We'll also explore the growth of bee habitat on Salt Spring Island, and we'll take another road trip to give you an idea about some terrific summer traveling.
Go Island is brought to you by German Auto Import Network.
There's a book and there's a movie, but this is not a Hollywood blockbuster. It is, though, a Vancouver Island blockbuster, a real treasure. I'm talking about Bamberton, and I'm with Maureen Alexander, who is the curator for the Bamberton Historical Society. Hi, Maureen.
Hello.
Well, what started you on a path to gathering a lot of dusty old photographs and leftovers from a cement plant? A lot of people would say, who needs that?
Well, I have to be honest, my first view of Bamberton was actually as a trespasser. It is behind lock gates and it's very much hidden on the hillside of the Malahat Drive. So I snuck behind those lock gates about 7 years ago and I was just amazed. It was like a ghost town in my backyard, basically. So I went to the BC Archives, I looked up online, and there virtually was nothing. They did admit that it was one of the most important industrial sites in BC's history, but there wasn't really a lot of information, and so that's what really piqued my curiosity, and I got started at that time.
For kids like me, we remember the beach and the park, and many of us remember the cement plant. It was a very, very busy industry site.
Yes, it was, and it was actually started in 1912, so it is over 100 years old. Basically, it built BC, and again, it's a bit of a mystery. People really don't really know a lot about it, so we're encouraging them to come and see for themselves.
We're going to have a little bit of a mini tour, but we want to mention that there are tours going on through August, and how are they happening?
Well, there are actually only 3 days in August. We can only be open on Sundays because it is a locked industrial site. People are not allowed in during the week. So we take a bus tour out every Sunday. So it's August the 4th, the 11th, and the 18th. And you get a chance to sneak behind those locked gates and see the old main street of town. We take you up to the original quarry, which is just a huge hole just drilled into the mountainside, and then down to the waterfront and back to the museum.
And there is a book and a movie. I know you poured your heart into the book.
Yes, I completed the book last year actually for our 100th anniversary celebration, so it chronicles the 100 years of Bamberton's history. The documentary that we've just had done and will be premiering in August basically is a different kind of look at Bamberton's history. It's life in the village, but it's an animated movie. It's done by the Victoria College of Art, their animation team, and so it's a way to look at history with a little bit different perspective.
Fabulous. All right, we're up for the tour in just a short time, but first of all, you may have heard that bees are on the decline. We were talking recently to someone in Duncan about that, but now a Salt Spring Island farmer has stepped up to assist in this whole process. James Green has the story. This is where it gets really interesting. You won't believe what we are about to show you. There are photographs, there are old typewriters, there's all kinds of wonderful material. And it starts with the history of the cement plant. Maureen?
Yes, actually I've set this up more or less in a chronological order. So it starts with a few interesting facts about cement. It was actually considered to be a secret magic process and product at one time, so you'll learn more about that. Also in the early 1900s, there were no cement manufacturing plants in the western part of Canada. You basically had to order your cement from England and of course wait many months and pay exorbitant costs for when it arrived. So people would order their cement from England until Mr. Bouchard, of course, set up his cement manufacturing plant at Todd Inlet, and then no one ordered from England anymore. This was not a happy situation for the British company, so they were very quick to send their managing director, Mr. H.K. Bamber, to Vancouver Island, and he purchased this land here because it had a good supply of limestone, and he set up basically his little plant, and of course the town was named Bamberton, after Mr. Bamber. So our museum then chronicles this because we have Mr. Bamber here at his desk with a lot of the original blueprints from 1911 and the hand-drawn drawings, of course, before the days of computers. We also have, behind me is the cement process, because most people, they tell me cement comes in a bag or a truck. They don't really think about, how it is produced, and it is quite a scientific project. So we have the process outlined behind. We then go on to the heyday of the Bamberton plant in the 50s and 60s. So for 40 years, Bamberton was the only cement producing plant. Now, you'll wonder why, because I've mentioned Mr. Butcher. Well, 1921, Mr. Butcher merged his plant with Bamberton, and Bamberton became the only cement producing plant and basically produced all the major projects in BC. So we have, the Kitimat town and factory, all the big Peace River dams, the big bridges like the Lions Gate Bridge, the George Massey Tunnel. It was also shipped around the world, and people don't realize this because, again, it was a locked industrial site. You just couldn't come down here and see all this happening. So cement from here was shipped to Saudi Arabia, Ceylon, Australia, South America. Big ships would pull in here all the time. So it was an absolute major operation, and again, very few people are aware of that.
And the name of Maureen's book is Dust to Bust. So what happened, Maureen?
Well, it's kind of ironic, actually. Bamberton, I think, got a little complacent because they were the only manufacturing company, so they could kind of name their price, etc. But then a big quarry came for sale on Texada Island, and they were offered it, of course, and they turned it down. They said, no, the price is a little high, I think we'll wait. And at that point, Lafarge, which is a French company and had no operations at all in BC, bought the quarry and decided they would build an ultra-modern plant in Delta, BC. So basically in the 70s, they built this ultra-modern plant. Here we have them, and Bamberton built in 1912. So basically the company that owned Bamberton at the time also built an ultra-modern plant in just right next door, actually, to Lafarge. So of course Bamberton's demise sort of started then because it was just really too antiquated and too expensive to run. So in 1980, a strike happened and spread to Bamberton, and that was sort of the last straw. So 1980-81, Bamberton was shut down. And at that time, of course, the plant in Vancouver was producing all the cement, so the factory wasn't really needed. And the company tried to interest people in the factory. Nobody was interested. They weren't really interested in the land either. So the company at that time, Genstar actually, rented the property to the military and the RCMP for maneuvers. So they came in with their bomb squads and their artillery guys and, all sorts of bomb practice and hostage-taking situations and all that sort of thing, and basically blew the place up. So it basically ended up in almost looking like a World War factory that you would see after some major conflict.
And then another change happened. I see people came to clean it up.
Yes, well, it went through one developer after another until Bamberton Properties actually bought the property, and they were the first ones to really clean it up because, of course, it had landfill sites, it had contaminated soil, it had asbestos in some of the insulation around the kilns, these sorts of things that are no longer acceptable. So they actually spent about $35 million cleaning up the site, taking down some of the buildings and all of that sort of thing. And they, of course, wanted to develop it into a residential proposal.
Here we are in the Bamberton Museum once again, where you can take a tour in August. There are several tours, bus tours. There's a book as well about the fascinating history here. And Bamberton still supplies a lot of cement to Vancouver Island. Maureen, tell us about it.
Well, basically, the parent company of Bamberton has their factory in Vancouver, and they produce the cement there. They barge it across, and it's loaded into the original Bamberton silos. So you can see the barge, you can see the silos on our tours, and then the big cement trucks go down and pick it up, and basically it's a distribution site for Vancouver Island.
A quick break right now, but when we come back, we're going to Bertha's house here at Bamberton. So think back to the late 20s, early 30s, and you'll get a glimpse of residential life. Bertha was actually the hairdresser in this particular village. Back in a moment. Tours throughout August on Sundays, and Maureen is with me. Maureen, when are the tours happening?
Well, they're happening from 11 till 5. We're in August now, so it's the 4th, the 11th, and the 18th.
And everyone will be able to go through the entire site here that is operated by the Bamberton Historical Society.
Yes, we offer bus tours. The bus tours actually go out at noon, 1:30, and 3.
We are outside Bertha's cabin. This is all part of really it's a restoration, it's a museum, it's revisiting the past. One thing I note is how sparse these surroundings are.
Well, actually, Bertha was the housekeeper for the manager, and we've already seen the manager's house, quite sumptuous accommodation. Bertha, on the other hand, had basically 2 rooms, but she did have a bathroom, which was apparently quite something in company housing. The rest of the house is quite sparse, as you can see, and you'll notice there's no refrigeration, and there was no refrigeration in the manager's house at that time either.
There's a lot of really neat kitchen implements and really nice old clippings. It really puts you back in the era, which was late 20s, early 30s.
Yes, and the photographs that you see inside are actual photographs from people who lived here. It's from their own photo albums. And if you come into Bertha's house, pick up the steam iron. You'll see how long you want to iron with that.
How hard would she be working as a hairstylist for the village?
Well, you would come here to get your hair cut or permed, and she made the children sit outside on this bench while their mothers were inside. A lot of them remember that, but basically that was your only option.
Yeah, so she was probably pretty busy between housekeeping and hairdressing. I'm guessing she might have only had a few hours sleep a night.
I'm not sure.
And then there are a couple of other rooms that are also equally interesting. One is a bit of a shop, and you could tell us about some of the implements we find in there, and a laboratory at the back.
Well, the center section of this building was the maintenance shed, I guess you'd say, for the manager. Again, he had a maintenance worker and a gardener. And we've sort of put it back as it would have been. And at the very back is a little tiny, sort of a teaser of a laboratory, because of course they had major labs down at the site. But this gives you a little bit of an idea.
It sure does. And one of the roads out here is named after the schoolmistress that we can see in this room. And there's some great photographs as well.
Well, Miss Strauss was hired in 1924 to teach, the only teacher, of course, at the Bamberton School. She taught for 45 years, and as a result, the old Hull Road was named Strauss Road.
It's a great reflection of the past, Maureen. You've done just an outstanding job of bringing it together. You must be excited to show it off. And one of the things I think is fascinating is that you have authentic tour guides.
Yes, my tour guides, bus drivers, they all grew up here as children, so their families lived in the village, as did they, and they talk about what life was really like in the village. And of course, their fathers and grandfathers worked at the plant, so they can give you quite an overview going back many generations.
Well, thank you for the tour. We've had a great time here, and good luck with your summer tours.
Oh, thank you so much.
If you'd like to book a Bamberton tour, they happen on Sundays in August, and there are several times to choose from each Sunday. Remember though, many of the tours book up quickly, so book early. Just go to the website. That's bambertonhistoricalsociety.org. Now, coming up after the break, it's great to hit the road in the summertime, whether you're discovering the wonders of cities or on a backcountry lane or doing something completely different. That's the best. We have a wonderful road trip idea for you coming up after the break. Sundays, the 4th, the 11th, and the 18th. And the bus tours begin at noon. There are several of them every afternoon. You can find out all about them at the website, bambertonhistoricalsociety.org. Be sure to let us know if you have any story ideas. We'd love to know about things going on in the valley so that we can tell the rest of the people living here. And you can get to us via Facebook. You can also tweet us, or you can email us. Thanks a lot for being with us.
Go Island is brought to you by German Auto Import Network, Men's Wardrobe by DG Bremner & Co., Menswear and Accessories, Hair Services provided by Salon J.